Hello, everyone. My guest today is Dennis Moore. He is a husband, a father, studied statistics at Michigan, plays sports like golf and paddle tennis, and loves to use data to analyze things. Professionally, that means using data to help CPG companies make better decisions. And personally, that means a love for poker and wagering. The company is called Numerator.com. Dennis, are you ready to take us to the top?
Sure am.
All right, over the past 12 months, how much money have you made playing poker?
Oh, geez, probably negative something.
Okay, so should we listen to this interview or not?
Not if it's about poker advice, no.
All right, what's Numerator do and what's your revenue model? How do you make money?
Yeah, we collect information that big companies, CPG companies like Procter, Coke, Kraft, companies like that need to understand how advertising, promotion, and pricing are trending in their industries.
Okay, so a couple questions on this. Obviously, your data is only good as the inputs you feed it and then how you use that data. So what are your inputs?
So our most important input is a panel of consumers. We have about 300,000 people in the United States who send us all of their receipts. So when they shop in a store, they snap a picture of their receipt. When they shop online, they've given us opt-in permission to collect their email receipts either out of their email box or out of their Amazon account.
Sandy, that's direct, or you've partnered with an app that is like a receipt imaging app and you take that data?
We have our own app. So there's two apps. One's called Shopperoo and one's called Receipt Hog. Anyone can download them on the App Store. And it's very direct. It's actually an important point. Our relationship is very direct with the consumers. They know they are signing up to send us their receipts.
Do you pay them for it?
We pay them for it. One of the apps is charitable based. If you ever cut out the box tops off your cereal boxes when you were a kid for your school, so one of our apps donates money to schools every time you upload a receipt. In fact, we gave $750,000 to schools last year collecting receipts that way. The other one is gamified. There's another app that, if you're not charitably motivated, we'll give you some tokens and you can play a game, that sort of thing.
Oh,
but the point is that people know what they're doing. It's not like we're sneaking the data away from them. It's
no. By the way, I think that's the future, right? I think if Facebook had a business model where they paid users some amount of cents, 10 cents, whatever, a month for all their data, we wouldn't have all these issues we're having now about you're collecting unwanted data, right? So I love it. Okay, good. Okay, I understand the data input now. And give me a sense of kind of the velocity of that pipeline. How many receipts per month are you collecting?
Oh my gosh, we collect about 1 out of every 500 receipts in the grocery stores across the country. So it's hundreds of thousands of receipts a day.
Okay, hundreds of thousands a day. But you don't know the number, you don't know last month how many you got total?
I don't know. I know we crossed over 500 million in our lifetime, in the 4 years that we've been in business. But I'd have to do
that's helpful. Okay, you said this is across 400,000 users.
Correct.
Okay, that's great. Okay, now let's go to the next step. So how do you add utility value to the data to get CPG brands to pay you?
Yeah, so the main thing is in sort of measurements of market share. So if you think about loyalty data, so think about a retailer, for instance. A retailer knows a lot about who shops in their store, right? The loyalty card gives them, but they don't know what those people buy when they're in another store.
Sure.
And that's actually pretty important. That's my poker analogy. It's like you don't know what the other guy's holding. That's the important fact. Similarly with the manufacturers, what's going on is because the retail landscape has changed so much in the last few years. Like it used to be if you knew what you sold in grocery stores, you knew most of your sales. But now people buy online, they buy in Ultas and Sephora's and Dollar Shave Club. And just like the way that CPG products get sold is so vast that you need sort of a wide range of consumer data to kind of track all the sales. And so that's the primary value we have is really measuring the full omni-channel from physical store to online store.
And is this a SaaS product for CPG brands or pay per line of data or what?
It's a little of both. I mean, so it's a SaaS-based model, but there's also a services component. So people would sign up for a subscription and they can access their own data and do a lot of their own reporting. But there's also times when the business use case is a little bit more involved and the client wants, in addition to the subscription, they want some professional services help, and we provide both.
Over the past 12 months, if your whole revenue pie is 100%, what percentage was professional services versus SaaS?
Probably, I'm trying to think. Probably about a third of the panel business. The panel business itself is about half. So it's probably somewhere in the order of 20% of our revenue is probably services.
Okay, not crazy, especially if it helps with retention on the SaaS product.
Yeah, we generally speaking, we try and provide like one person's worth of service for every $1 million of stuff you buy from us.
That's pretty good. And then, okay, so let's just focus on the SaaS company today. So I'm sure you have a bunch of different cohorts, but I'm going to force you into an average here just because we're short on time. So what's the average customer pay you per month or per year, would you say?
Per year is probably high five figures, probably like 75. I'm guessing a little bit, but this is a grand average. But yeah, it's probably a high five figure annual subscription.
Okay, got it. So call it 75 grand a year, or maybe around $6,200 per month, something like that. And put this on a timeline for us, Dennis, before we get too deep here. When did you launch the company? What year?
Well, the company is really a concatenation of about 12 different acquisitions. So, and to be clear, I'm not the founder. I'm sort of the PE CEO of the accumulated companies. But the panel business that we've been talking most about, that business started in 2014. And it's grown from, it's a panel business. So the first year you don't make any money because
that is numerator.com though, right?
Yeah. The panel, that numerator.com. Yeah. The business we've been talking about is a subset of Numerator, correct?
Yeah. And okay. So hold on. So I want to understand were you at the private equity firm that then went and bought Market Track and Info Scout, or you were at one of those companies and basically moved up the chain after the roll up happened?
Yeah, I kind of joined in the middle. So I joined when we had a previous private equity owner, and we owned several of the businesses that make up the current Numerator. I joined, we then sold to our current owners, Vista Equity Partners. Yeah. And shortly after Vista acquired us, we made a very big acquisition in this panel-based company. So
that's interesting.
Some of the acquisitions and with both the one owner back and the current owner.
Yeah. So one thing I have to ask you, because I think private equity firms, a lot of people don't really dive into strategy here, but there are so many synergies a company like Vista can do that other people just don't even think about. For example, they also are owners in ReturnPath. ReturnPath has a ton of data. I imagine your receipt data is also very interesting to ReturnPath. Yep. Inside of a big private equity giant, when Robert puts you, right, and ReturnPath in the same room and says, figure out how to work together. I mean, how do you, and he's kind of saying definitely figure out a way to work together. How do you make that work?
Yeah. Well, in fact, I think we actually do quite a bit of that. And I can't speak for other private. I think Vista is actually probably ahead of the curve in terms of doing more of that, because most of the companies Vista acquires have sort of that tech enablement or SaaS synergy. So there's more in common. So we actually do it. ReturnPath is actually no longer part of the portfolio of Vista, but we would have done something with them. But there are two other Vista companies that we partner with quite a bit. One is called MediaOcean.
Yep.
He collects a lot of data on the advertising.
Bill Wise, great guy. Yeah.
Bill Wise, yeah. Bill's in fact on our board, so that's another way.
He was just on the show a couple weeks ago.
He had a baby earlier this week. So
yeah.
And then Integral Ad Science. So
don't know them.
Know by IAS. They compete against Moat and Double Verify, but they collect, both MediaOcean and IAS have a lot of information around how advertising hits consumers, which if you merge it up with our data, we can start to draw the connection between consumers being exposed to ads and do we or do we not see a change in the lift of their own volume.
Interesting. Okay. So, what year did you join the company, at all? Any other parts?
So I joined the company in the summer of 2016.
Okay, so kind of 2 years.
Capital. It was and then we sold the company to Vista in the spring of 17.
Okay, was it public what the acquisition price was?
No, it was not.
It was private. Okay, all right. Good. Okay, so 2014, Agora, you joined 2016. 2014, launched. 2016, Agora sells to Vista. You stay on. You're now leading kind of the conglomerate. Yeah. And then, so walk me through kind of where you're at today. So over the past couple of years, what have you scaled to in terms of total customers you're serving?
Yeah, so we have over 2,000 customers, and we're probably going to hit about $130 million of revenue this year across all the combined companies. And really the driving force for all that is the channel fragmentation. The traditional CPG companies, they traditionally rely on like Nielsen, which is a company I worked at for a long time. IRI, those are like the traditional places they got data on the market. But as the market has moved to this kind of amorphous mass between brick and mortar and online, they need some new sources of information. And that's kind of like the spot that we really dig in and say that there are new things in the market that aren't being well measured, and we're measuring them better. And that's kind of our pitch.
Yeah. So 130 run rate today. Help me understand growth. A year ago, where were we at? November 2017.
We're just over 100. Just over 100.
Okay. So pretty healthy growth. Now, is most of this kind of 30 million and kind of new bookings you've driven over the past 12 months, what % of that has come from expansion versus totally new customer adds?
Yeah. I mean, most of it is from expansion in the sense that we had we had these multiple companies we've tied together. And so we might start to sell the new service to a company that was already buying something else from us. So I would say it's expansion, but it has an element of new business because to the client who's buying, it's a brand new service from us.
Yep. That's interesting. So someone that signs up, I'm going to use easy numbers here. Someone that signs up for your product brand new today for $100,000 a year, $100,000 ACV. Typically, when you put them through this well-oiled system you've built, what will that expand to in year two?
I think on average we'd say somewhere like a 130, like
Pretty
a
healthy.
third, yeah, something like that. What it tends to be is a little bit lumpy though, because what can happen is there are certain services that if they expand to it, they might double or triple their revenue, right? And then there are other services where they just sort of make a marginal expansion by maybe expanding the box of data a little bit.
And let's stay on kind of this line for a second, which is kind of cohort analysis. So that same cohort, a year from today, it sounds like there's some expansion, maybe average 30% expansion. Let's talk about the flip side of that, gross revenue churn. What's gross revenue churn on that cohort?
Yeah, churn is probably, we're kind of coming in the upper eight, or our net retention rate is probably just shy of 90. So in the mid to upper 80s right now. There's one line of business that we have where we collect data by scraping data off the web, sort of price information and that tends to be a business line that there's just a lot of people doing that space right now. And so we do have a little bit more churn on that side of our business than we wish we had.
So Dennis, I want to make sure I understood that real quick. So you said net revenue retention is 90%?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And so just to be clear, if 30% is expansion, right? Yeah. Which means that's essentially, so if I take 30% off the 90, I can basically say you guys are churning it's a pretty significant amount of churn, gross revenue churn.
Maybe we're talking about it a little bit differently. When I'm talking about of all the bookings that I have, right, and I set price increases aside, just how much of what I had last year do I keep? So about 10% of my base I'm losing, but then of the 90 that stays, I'm expanding that. So my net, I was
gonna say your net retention is
my
over.
My growth with my existing customers is larger than than the churn I'm losing.
Yeah. Okay. Just so let me say it again and see if I want to make sure I'm interpreting your numbers accurately. You lose on a cohort that signed up a year ago. You'll lose maybe 10% of that revenue. You'll expand it though 30%. So net, you're 120% net revenue retention on that cohort.
Correct.
I got it. Very good. Yeah, that makes more sense. And
we have all these different metrics. I get confused when you include the price increases, don't include the price increases. Some different ways of talking about it now.
Yeah, I would include them. That's expansion revenue. But let's dive deeper on that actually. When you do increase the price, what have you found is the most effective way to get people comfortable paying that new price when they go, but Dennis, I want the grandfathered plan. I was an early customer. I love you. You have great hair. Give me a discount.
Yeah, mostly it's about improvements in the product. So particularly with say the panel business, we've taken that when we acquired the business a little over a year ago on the panel side, we had 75,000 people in we have 400,000 people in the panel, but there's a subset that you draw to be your representative sample. And that was 75,000. We've made it 100,000. We're going to make it 125,000 in the next year. And so there's quality improvements. So we made the data larger. So the number of issues that they can study and the number of things that they can read has increased. And so it's kind of a classic quality play. So we can legitimately say that there's been enhancements in product quality that manifest themselves in a price increase.
Interesting. Talk to me about kind of dollar-based CAC, and the reason I ask is I've had several kind of private equity-owned companies on the show, and I found that this is a good actual idea to understand how fast kind of the SaaS marketplace is growing. So when I had Andre from Ping, which is also I believe part of Vista,
Vista just CEO as well, sure.
Yeah, Ping Identity. I mean, he articulated to me that kind of he's currently paying about $1.20 to get a new dollar in ARR, and that they're actively and aggressively trying to figure out actually how to spend more because they have so much confidence in their lifetime value. Yeah. Where's your head at in your business?
Yeah, I mean, I know we're not as extreme as that. We spend about our total cost of sales and marketing is about 25% of our total revenue. Right? So we're spending a lot of money every year on our sales force and our marketing efforts. But we're not in a situation where we're spending more than the first year's revenue just to acquire a customer.
Got it.
I think it's different about our business and some others. We have over 2,000 clients. We have lots of clients that spend $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year with us.
Yep.
So the lifetime value is large and the renewals are important, but it's not as if these are 7-figure deals that you would spend an enormous amount of money to win because they're going to be 8 and 9-figure lifetime values, right? Yeah. It's a little bit more of a wider range of clients.
So just to repeat that back to you, you're spending maximum $1 of CAC to get a new $1 of ARR at 12-month pay. Said differently, it's about less than a 12-month payback period. And in terms of just total macro level, you're spending 25% of your total revenue, which is about $130 million today, on sales and marketing.
Correct. You got it.
And so let me understand more about the team. What's the team size today?
Well, the team worldwide we have 1,500 associates. Although 700 of them are in offshore capacities because we have a lot of data handling, data coding, data entry sort of issues. But in terms of, say, client-facing folks, we have about just under 100 commercial sales folks and about another 75 services-based consultants and services folks.
And talk to me about the process.
There's a very lot. Go ahead. No, because I didn't say anything about the engineering team too. That's the other big pocket of staff that we have, is a large number of engineers. Because all of our businesses, I'll just continue to use the receipt business as an example. And I say that someone takes a picture of a receipt and we know what's on it. As you can imagine, there's actually quite a bit more to it than that in terms of the OCR required to turn that image into actual data.
That's right. Yeah. Break down that kind of machine for me here for a second. So I want to understand the sales machine. You mentioned about, I think it's 75 professional services, 100 commercial sales. What's the ratio between kind of SDRs and AEs? How do you use customer success and onboarding reps in that equation?
Yeah, I would say, generally speaking, we're rooted in more of the enterprise sales level because our biggest clients, the 50 largest CPG clients, P&G, Coke, Nestle, Unilever, those are where our bread is really buttered. And so we have a lot of very tenured staff focused on those accounts. We do have an SMB market. We do have a lead gen team kind of chasing the mid and the smaller market. But in terms of dollar expenditures, we're probably top weighted a little bit more than other companies of our size. Okay,
interesting. When Vista acquired you guys, first change that you guys decided to make together was what?
Internal systems. I think we had 6 instances of Salesforce. We had 3 different accounting systems because we had concatenated all these small acquisitions before. And, Vista just kind of looked at it and said, this is kind of ridiculous. We need to get on one instance of Salesforce. That needs to be the system of record for all of the things related to clients. And it needs to tie in one time to our accounting system. And so we spent probably close to 6 months just kind of getting all of that straightened out so that we now can go from quote to order to bookings all in one system. But that was not easy.
Yeah. Okay. So systems optimization is number one. And what would you say I would say that's very tactical. What would you say is the first big strategic change that happened? Was it a price increase or something else?
No, it was in the go-to-market team. So we had again still some remnants of. We had a very product-focused sale. People who came to us selling one of the products, and we would buy another company. We had people who would sell that product, and the obvious opportunity was to have a united sales force and sort of bring the whole bag to clients and start to integrate the services together. So we had to do a lot of work to essentially take a fractured sales force and align it up into sort of one go-to-market. Which then following on that heels, or kind of in parallel with that, also meant certain things we had to do with the product to make sure that the product experience was truly integrated. But the products were somewhat easier to integrate. I'd say that the sales forces were further behind, so we took on the sales force first.
That's interesting. Yeah. So basically what you're saying is every sales rep knows all the things they could potentially sell. They can recommend better packaging and get more, wallet share, et cetera.
Yep. You've got a portfolio of products. I mean, they're all differentiated in certain ways, but some are more differentiated than others. And so by integrating, you kind of take the equity and the differentiation of your best products, and you kind of give a little bit of a lift to say your more commoditized products.
Yep. Very good, Dennis. I was enjoying this. I just realized we ran out of time. So let's wrap up quickly with the famous 5 one-word answers if you can. What's the last business book you read?
I don't read business books.
Okay, that's a no. Number 2, name an under-the-radar CEO that you really respect or you're learning from.
That I'm learning from. Bill Wise.
Bill Wise, that's a good one. Number 3, what billing tool do you use?
Billing tool? Oh my God, I don't know.
You're not sure. Okay, name your favorite online tool for building your business.
Online tool, man. You're stumping me, man. I'm an old school. I don't know.
All right. Number 4, how many hours of sleep do you get every night?
7-ish.
Okay, that's good. And what's your situation? Married, single, kiddos?
Married, 2 kids, 1 in college, 1 in high school.
Oh, great. And how old are you?
Be 50 in December, so 49 for now.
That's exciting. All right, Dennis, take us home here. Last question. What do you wish your 20-year-old self knew?
I wish my 20-year-old self knew more about starting companies and smaller ventures. I kind of thought you went to school, you got a job at a big company, and that's kind of how the world worked. And it took me until I was 47 years old to discover private equity in smaller companies.
Get in the starting the company game sooner. Coming from Dennis, now leading a company called Numerator, about to pass $130 million in ARR. That's up from a $100 million run rate just a year ago. So healthy growth, owned by private equity firm Vista Equity. They've passed 2,000 customers, mainly all the big CPG guys. Average contract values, call it 5, 6, 7 grand per month. They're, not as aggressive as some other portfolio companies in terms of dollar-based CAC, spending up to $1 to get a new dollar of ARR, or about 25% of their total revenue on sales and marketing. First moves, again, bring efficiency to the sales team. One instance, the Salesforce, that was what they did. First two moves kind of after the Salesforce acquisition. Again, company launched in 2014, team of about 1,500 today, growing rapidly. Dennis, thanks for taking us to the top.
All right. Thanks, man. See you.